What is up, my friends? Welcome. Dominaria United. We finally have our first previews. Previous stream was earlier today, and they released a lot of stuff to look through. As you see, a little out of the veil here. Made a short video on that, so I wanted to get it out there and kind of just get my excitement out and get that going. But we're going to go over all the cards they revealed on the previous stream today and just go through them all and talk about them real quick and just kind of get my first impressions, kind of a first off-the-cuff impression as we go, as I usually do. First look, Dominaria United. We said Liliana, talked about it already. I think this card is going to be good, but not incredible. But I think it's great, actually, in both Pioneer and Standard. Not really there on rate like it used to be, but still a very good card. And more of a synergy card, which is great. So I'm just pumped for Liliana, and not going to talk too long about it because I talked about it already in the other video. So let's move on here to the Raven Man. Friends with Liliana. 2 mana for a 2/1. Beginning of each end step, a player discarded a card this turn. Make a 1/1 black bird token. With flying, and then most importantly, can't block. Can't block is one of the literal worst abilities in all of Magic. Pay 4, each opponent discards a card, activate only as a sorcery. So obviously curves very well with Liliana. You play this thing, and then you activate Liliana. Old player discards, you get a bird. If these birds could block, I think this card would be incredible. I think this card would be a super, super solid card. But the fact that they can't block makes this only an offensive threat. Therefore, the birds can't defend your Planeswalkers, and it's really kind of a hardcore discard build around as well. Activating it for 4 should be like a last resort kind of thing. So kind of a cool card, kind of a fun build around, but I think ultimately will be stymied and constructed by the fact that the birds can't block. But still a pretty cool card, and a card I'm sure I'll build around at some point as well. I'm sorry, is it Mog Monday? Apparently it is. Squee Dubious Monarch is here. And I actually read the story about Squee on the Magic page, written by Dan Sheehan of Not a Wolf fame. I don't know, but it was amusing. Read it whilst the doctor waiting for Nicole. And Squee is apparently no longer immortal but can come back. I don't really understand how his story goes, but what we have here is a slightly worse Legion War Boss or Goblin Master that has the ability to come back. So 2/2 haste. When it attacks, make a token stacking, so it's pretty standard. And then you may cast it from the graveyard by paying 4 and exiling 4 of the cards in your graveyard as part of the cost. So literally just has the ability Escape we saw in Theros. That's a very powerful ability, as we've seen in cards like Uro and even in cards like Woe Strider, where it's like, you know, just this card you can keep using over and over and over again. Doesn't get bigger anyway, which kind of stinks, but still a versatile card. I feel like it might not be good enough, but we'll see how much Goblin support there is. Still a really fun card. In older formats, it pales in comparison to Goblin Master or Legion War Boss, but pretty cool one. Good to see old Squee back. Up next is Yoria, Ageless Inventor. 2 mana for a 2/3, which is a good rate right off the start. Tap it to put 2 Ingenuity counters on Yoria, Ageless Inventor. Then you may play an artifact card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield with X number of Ingenuity counters. So, you tap it, you can put it in a 2-drop immediately. Tap it again, put it in a 4-drop. This card's pretty good. Obviously, it's a little weird because your artifact decks often don't want to play non-artifact cards. It is a little hard to cast for playing colorless lands, but a 2/3 for 2 can already, it's a decent sized rate, go a little hard to kill, blocks reasonably well, and you just like tap it and put it in a Mind Stone, and then tap it and put it in a, I don't know, some good format of artifacts. So the power level is there. The question, of course, is like what deck would want this card. It needs to be an artifact-centric deck that can actually use it. It's blue and blue-red and can cast it and stuff, but the power level's there. It needs to find a home. Super cool card, though. I like it a lot. Zur's back, Internal Schemer. We have an Esper for a 1/4 flyer. Enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof. Is this Theros set? I don't really know. Why does this have this work? How it works is 2 mana turn a non-aura enchantment you control into a creature, as well as other types, and its base power times equals its mana value. So, kind of a weird, funky card. This is like, can just turn your random, like, Banishing Lights or whatever enchantments there are into creatures, and they will have Lifelink, Death Touch, and Hexproof, which is kind of cool. Of course, Hexproof doesn't really matter that much because they can just kill the Zur and then kill the thing, but kind of a cool card. Kind of an interesting build around. The power level is certainly there. It feels a little more like a commander card than a constructed card, but who knows? Kind of a cool card. Not really what I would expect Enchantress decks to want to do, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, right? Solkanar returns as well. Solkanar Tainted 5 mana for a 5/5, just like the old Swamp King, which is awesome. And this is sort of like a Demonic Pact kind of card. Beginning for end step, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Important to note, this is end step, not upkeep, which makes it a lot better than Demonic Pact would be in that regard. You can draw a card, drain for 2, bolt something, or give it to your opponent. That's obviously the last resort, right? So this is a card that gives you a lot of value, but if you haven't killed your opponent by the time it's time to get our 4th ability, they just get to have it. which is pretty crazy. So, pretty powerful card, though. I mean, end step, you play this and bolt something. That's pretty awesome. That's a good FTK effect. Drawing cards is pretty good, too. Does go away pretty quick. Only ever gets 2 attacks in, but kind of a cool card. Probably not quite there. Constructing because 5 mana is a lot. This is like a 4 mana 4/4. It makes her actually be very, very good. But a cool one, a cool build around. Gonna be a really fun limited card, that's for sure. And it's good to see old Solkanar back in action. Soul of Windgrace is here, and this is the avatar of Lord Windgrace. This is a Jund 4-drop. It's a 5/4, decent sizing. When it ETBs or attacks, put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. That's pretty good, honestly. That's a pretty powerful effect, making it sort of like Solemn Simulacrum if you have fetch lands and things like that. Then you can pay 1 green, discard a land, gain 3. Pay 2 mana, discard a land, draw a card. Pay 3 mana, discard a land card. It gets indestructible until end of turn and tap it. If there's some sort of way like you can life from alone back lands or Ren and 6, things like that, this card could be awesome. That's probably got to be the thing, though, in maybe Pioneer or Standard. For Modern, probably not quite good enough. Although it is pretty good, honestly. It's a 5/4. It's kind of cool. Pretty sweet card. Again, feels a little more commandery, too, but I could definitely see this making waves in Standard. And don't forget, there are the New Capenna, you have a Jund Sackland, whatever it's called. There's a uniform name for them, but whatever. You play it, you gain a life sack, you get a basic land. Those play really well with this card, which is kind of cool, too. So, kind of a sweet one. The rate is definitely there. Could be a card we see constructed for sure. Up next is, what I think is one of the real sleepers of all the cards released so far today. The old Raff Brannigan. Raff Weatherlight Stalwart is a blue-white for a 1/3. Reasonable body, human wizard. If you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may tap 2 untap creatures you control. If you do, draw a card. That's pretty freaking good. 5 mana for creatures you control, plus some vigilance end of turn. Basically like the unicorn in the alchemy set. But this card is the kind of card where the power level is there. If there's some sort of like raise the alarm token making effect, and you're able to kind of play spells that also make tokens, this thing could draw a lot of cards. And for 2 mana and 3 toughness, that's a great engine. But it's a big if the cards are there for it. If the cards exist for this card to do well and constructed, this could be a format staple, I think, which is awesome. Super fun card, but they gotta be there for sure. But really, really cool card. Like this card a lot. This is my big pick for a sleeper. Painlands. Ouchie wowie. Only 6 of them. So poor Pioneer players have to live with only 3 of the ally ones we get. Adakar Waste, Carpulsion Forest, Shivan Reef, so 3 enemy and 3 allied, Sulphurous Springs, Caves of Quelos, and yeah, My Coast. And again, sorry to all you Brushland and what we got? Brushland and Black, Blue, and Underground River fans. Not quite yet, not just yet, but obviously good to see these cards coming back. They're not the flashiest lands, but they're desperately needed in Pioneer and Historic to fix the mana base imbalances. And yeah, just Painlands. It's cool to see. No Eldrazi here, but good to see him back. Sheoldred of the Apocalypse. This is like the Phyrexian that's orchestrating everything here, and honestly kind of an underwhelming card. We've seen Phyrexians now in every set. You know, Vorinclex was in Kaldheim. You know, Gijing Attacks was in Neon Dynasty, and they were all really big effects. You know, doubling counters, can't play spells, yada yada yada. So honestly, seeing Sheoldred here as a 4 mana 4/5 with some upside is kind of weird, honestly. It's more of a constructed playable card, I guess. It's not very impressive, you know, on rate, but the effect is really not that exciting. It just, you can gain a little life, they lose a little life. It's Death Toucher, it's a 4/5, reasonable body. Kind of like ho-hum for the big bad, but great limited card. Benelish Sleeper is here. We can go over the mechanics a little bit here. Kicker returns, and of course, Kicker, one of the best mechanics ever. Everything's Kicker, basically. And we see here an enemy card Kicker cost, kind of a multi-card theme in this set. 2 mana for a 3/1, which is pretty good, honestly. And you can Kicker it to make it into a Fleshbag Marauder. Fleshbag Marauder is a fringe playable card anyway, but this card's kind of sweet. There needs to be a deck that wants this card, some sort of like sacrificey deck. Probably not good enough for constructed, but it is a really cool card and a really cool design. And I like how it's, you know, a 3/1 for 2 is already almost reasonable enough. Don't know if there's going to be tribal synergies for Phyrexians, but could be cool. Kind of a cool card. I like it. Defile Dreams is next, and Phyrexian mana sort of returns. This is a 5 mana 4/3 flyer. As additional cost to cast blues permanents, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost blue less to cast if you pay the life this way. Only reduces colored mana. So basically this makes all of your blue permanent spells have a Phyrexian mana cost. Only permanents, though, which is important. You can't just, like, cast your Serum Visions or whatever over and over again for free. If you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. So pretty good card. The problem is it's just a 5-mana 4/3. So I don't really see this card making too much of an impact because it is just, like, this clunky, weak creature. But the effect is really powerful, right? You, like, play some cheap creature for 2 life, you draw a card, you kind of go nuts. But cool card, but ultimately, I think, underpowered on rate. Nashova Brawler is here to show you all about Domain returning. Domain, of course, is the mechanic where it counts the number of basic land types you have among lands you control. Tribal Flames, one of the biggest Domain cards. And this card's pretty good. There are no true duels in Standard that have both land types, but there are Triomes, obviously, which are huge. So 1 Triome immediately gives you Domain for 3. And the floor, if you have a Triumph and play with this thing, is a 3/3 trample for 2, which is pretty good. Could be a 5/3 trample for 2. That's really good. That's a very, very solid card. Is it good enough for Constructed? We'll see. I imagine most Domain decks would be a little more grindy than aggressive, so this might not be big enough. You know, maybe if this was like a 3-star, so the toughness would go up, have a little bit of a better blocker maybe, but cool card. Definitely cool to see Domain back, and should be a cool draft build around too. Kicker, once again, Archangel of Wrath. This card's pretty awesome. 4-mana 4, a 3/4 flying lifelink. Kicker black and or red. And when it ETBs, you get to shock any target for each kicker paid. And of course, because it has lifelink, you gain the life too. So at 6 mana, this is double shock, gain 4 life on a pretty good creature. This card's good. This card's pretty good. Pretty good top end card. You can play early as well. Good stabilizing element. Good mid-range card because you can play it against aggro and just gain a bunch of life and kill things and stabilize. I like this card a lot. The card's super sweet. Phasing of Zhalfir. This is a new mechanic as well. Read ahead. So, of course, sagas are awesome. We all love sagas. They're just phenomenal design. Read ahead is an ability where it's a saga, but you can skip the chapters if you want to. So you can play this card, and if you want to go right to chapter 2, you can. Now, you don't get to go back. So you start at 2, you go to 3, and then it ends. Or you can start at 3, kind of turning your saga into a sorcery, which is interesting. This thing is a wrath that turns all things into 2/2s. But it can also phase your stuff out. So the story here is you can phase out one of your things, it stays phased. Phase out one of your things, stays phased. Then wrath everything, your things are still there. Or you can phase their stuff, Parallax Wave style, which is kind of cool. Very weird, very interesting card. The wrath effect isn't really that powerful, but the phasing part is really powerful. It's kind of a cool card. Gonna be hard to wrap our head around these read ahead cards. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Guardian Dominaria is another new mechanic here in Enlist, and this one is less impressive. Enlist means whenever you attack with this creature, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness, and when you do, you add its power to this creature's power. So, not attacking, not summoning sick, and only adds power. This mechanic, it looks like a limited mechanic, where the goal here is just like, the board stalled, I can put 2 things in one and attack you with a higher power creature and trade up. But for Constructed, this feels like Rider text almost. Like, you can't play this and play a creature after it and like crew into it. So it really is like, I have this unsummoned creature just laying around that I can tap and not block with to pump this thing a small amount. Not very exciting, but this card's kind of cool. It's a bear. ETB is Scries 2. And it has the Season Hollowblade ability of discard a card, indestructible, and then tap it. So kind of a cool card. If a discard elements matter, could be sweet, but I'm not very bearish on, or bullish on Enlist, except for Unlimited, for sure. And then, poor Ajani. If you didn't see a trailer, go watch it. Robot Eye, Terminator stuff, kind of cool, but Ajani has been completed. Our second Planeswalker now completed, basically infected by the Borg if you're a Star Trek fan. And Ajani is effectively a 3 mana and 2 life Planeswalker, but looks pretty good. So, can cost 4 mana or 3 mana and 2 life. Plus 1 reveal top card of your library if it's a creature or Planeswalker card. Put it on top, put it in your hand, otherwise put it in the bottom of your library. Similar to Domri Rod, which is kind of a cool plus ability. -3 to distribute +1/+1 encounters among 3 target creatures. They gain vigilance when end of turn. So pretty big, honestly, power boost. Although you can't use this ability unless you have paid the 4 mana for it immediately. It'll come with 2 instead of 4. And then 6 mana, or -6, get an emblem whenever you cast a creature or Planeswalker spell. Target opponent gets 2 poison counters, which is kind of a cute way to win the game, honestly. It's sort of just cast 5 creatures, win the game, which is kind of cool. So definitely a cool card in a very creature or permanent heavy deck. And poor Ajani. It's pouring out for Ajani, right? And that's it. So I want to go fast today, get to get through all the cool cards. Again, I'm pumped for this set. You should be too. I got Bronze Mythic with this set. I'm testing for Worlds of the set. This is my Worlds format. Standard, Explorer, and Limited. Of course, 10 new brews will be happening, my set reviews, all the usual new stuff. We actually haven't had a new set in a little while, which is kind of sweet because, like, I feel fresh again. Whereas there was a new set every 6 minutes, it felt like. Now it's been a little bit, and I am pumped for the set. You should be too. Like, comment, subscribe, check out all my stuff, and I'll see you around. Let's do this. Dominaria United.